here today. Thank you for taking time to join us. We are coming to you, Jamie, Aaron, and I are at the CBE Exchange Conference today. It is the International Conference on Competency-Based Education. And fun fact, we are actually going to be talking about all the hard work that you all have been doing with us over the last year in a presentation later this afternoon. We're going to be talking about all of our work. So we're really excited to have you here today. And we were excited that we could actually come to you live from the conference where we get to share all the hard work that you've been doing this year. So thank you for taking time with us. So today we're really excited about today. And I'm going to switch my screen. So give me just a second. Can somebody hit record? Okay. All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yep. Yes,
Perfect.
we can.
I was going to say don't nod heads because I can't see it. So today we're really, really excited because this is something that we've wanted to do for a long time. We've really wanted to have, we've shared a lot of information with you, but there's some really, really cool things happening out there. And we wanted to be able to have this opportunity to bring a panel presentation to you about use cases in AI. So what we've got today is we have got folks that are in our TBR system that are going to show you the ways that they have been using AI today to help give you a better visibility into some different ways to use it, because we share probably, I don't know, this much of the things you can do with AI, and there are so many amazing ideas out there. So we're really excited to share this with you. I do have some of our standard reminders. So remember that this session is going to be recorded. It will be available on our resource site. We do ask that you not use third-party AI tools. And if there is one, we are going to kindly kick it out of our room, not because we don't appreciate the technology, but because we have been it has been recommended that that's not an incredibly strong privacy practice. And so if you do have a third-party AI tool, please consider turning it off. Otherwise, we'll just kick it out of the room. As always, remember that when you're using AI, we do not include personally identifiable information. So keep that PII out of any of the AI tools that you are trying. And if you are going to use tools to provide feedback to students, please make sure you remove all of the students' PII. All right. So let's dive in. I want to first welcome and thank our panelists for being here today. We have April Crenshaw, who is an associate professor of math at Chattanooga State. We have Mary Ellen Nash, who is an instructional designer in the Office of Learning at Nashville State. And we have Angie Elkins, who is an associate professor of behavioral and social sciences at Walters State. So we're really excited not only to have these pioneers in AI, these trailblazers with us, but also I'm really excited because we've got a little bit of very different disciplines. We've got math, we've got instructional design, and we've got behavioral sciences all represented. And so I think it's a great way for us to be able to show, or for our panelists to be able to show how they are using AI in different and impactful ways. So what can you expect from today? So we have given our panelists a little bit of a set of questions, and this is what we hope you take away from today. So we're going to talk about what's working. We're going to talk about what's not working. And we're going to talk about what else for our panelists, what else is on the horizon? What are they thinking about using or thinking about doing next? We're going to talk a little bit about how we're using AI in the classroom to support or manage. How are we using it? Are we using it? We're going to talk about the current state of the student reception. How are the students actually responding to AI as you're using them in the classroom? We're going to talk about what are those two top tools, right? Everybody wants to know what you're using. So we're excited to have that conversation. And then we want to talk about how you keep up with the latest developments in AI. So I'm going to pause there and make sure that we are ready to go, make sure that we've got Angie and Mary Ellen and April. Can you all just say hello so I know that you have sound?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
great.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi,
Okay.
it's Angie.
Hey, Angie. Thank you so much. So, what I thought would be interesting first, I know April has some examples she wants to share with you, but I thought I'd start out first with a question for all of our panel. And then, April, I know you've got some things to share, and I know that Angie and Mary Ellen probably have some great information to share as well. So, but first, I want to know what is working for you. What are those tools that you currently find the most valuable for you? And Angie, if you want to kick us off.
So what is working for me? I love creating rubrics. I love providing student feedback. That's been really helpful because I read some of my student papers and I'm like, I don't even know a positive to say about the student. And so AI has been helpful with that. I
That's
asked
great.
it to give me like strengths and areas for improvement on papers.
Nice.
Those are the most common things that I'm using it for right now, but I have a bunch of others if you're wanting the whole list.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to dig deeper into that later. This is what I kind of want to know is, what are those top tools you're using? So, Mary Ellen, what are those top tools you're using?
So I think for us, the top tools that we're using right now are ChatGPT and other large language models. I would kind of lump them together because we also we use Gemini and we use Copilot. So the large language models, but we're also using some text-to-speech AI tools. The one that we're using is called 11 Labs, and it is a way for us to create voice narrations for our tutorial videos. And it's consistent, it's easy to do, and if anything changes, it's super easy to just replace pieces that need to be replaced as things get updated. So I'd say those are the top tools we're using right now, but there's others.
Okay, great. Great. And April, what is that top tool or tools that you are using most often? Or yeah, April, sorry.
So similarly for students, introducing them to ChatGPT or Copilot, but the way in which I'm introducing it to them is that it's not something you have to hide, something you can be very transparent with, and introducing it in a way to show them that it's a tool to help you, kind of like a tutor would be, or kind of like checking with your calculator. I think it's what's working for us.
Excellent. Okay.
Sarah,
Now
I
the-
misunderstood
Yes.
your question
Oh.
a minute ago.
Oh, sorry.
The
Sorry,
two
Angie.
that I use the most are Perplexity and ChatGPT.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate the clarification. That's really helpful. So I'm going to ask now the flip side of that question. What is something that you tried that's not working like you thought it would?
Oh, I'll go first on this one. I have been playing around with a website called Character AI, which it says that I can create my own bots that answer questions, and I want it to do that, but it's not doing it very well so far. I would like to come up with a way to, have like students Q&A, where they can go in and ask it a question and it'll pop out an answer. But I have not been able to get it to function the way I want yet.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and that's part of the process, right? We think that an AI tool can do something. I personally will tell you, I get really excited about I think, oh, this tool is going to do this thing for me. And then I get in there and I can't figure out how to make it do the thing that I wanted it to do in the first place. I think that's part of the learning process with these AI
agree.
tools.
I'd like to follow up on that though, because before I joined the Office of Online Learning, I was at the library at Nashville State, And I'm also I'm a PhD student, and my research is on generative AI. And I've created, and it wasn't like very difficult. There's a product called Chatbase where you can train a chatbot, sort of an AI chatbot, on a specific set of materials, and then it will, if a student queries it, it gives the an answer based on the training data. And of course, it also uses the GPT-4 model, so it will expand on that if it's asked. But I found that to be pretty useful. Originally, I tried sort of a do-it-yourself kind of model where I had to piece together different aspects of search interface, like a user interface and a relay to move the requests back and forth. That didn't work out very well because I'm not a programmer. But this other one seems to be working much better. And so I would put that out there. It's not free. It does cost, I think I'm paying $20 a month. But I have found it to be very useful. And I think there's others out there. I think Nashville State's actually using one as an interface for students on the website to get like additional information about things.
Very interesting. Thank you.
I'd say for me personally, not for students, but I have not been very successful using ChatGPT to generate images. They're bad. And I know people love Midjourney, and I've seen like fantastic images that others have been able to create, but I have been unsuccessful. So Ideogram is my go-to for images, and I can even create good images out of Copilot. Those cartoon-like images that are fun and everything, but in GPT and in Midjourney, I have not been very successful.
Yeah, I've had some limited success in ChatGPT. Copilot, I can get to do a couple versions before it sort of says that's enough of a picture. But yeah, I've had that kind of experience as well. I think it might depend at this point on what version of chat you're using as well. So thank you. All right. Now, April, I know you had some deeper information, some examples to share with us. Are you ready to share those examples?
Yes, so they're included in the deck.
Yep.
All right, well, I'm ready. Well, good morning or afternoon, depending on the time zone. I'm April Crenshaw, and I'm an associate professor at Chat State, and I've been a generative AI user since June of 2023. So I'll quickly share why I use AI, how I use it for everyday tasks, ways I feel like I'm enhancing learning through AI use, AI as a tool for advancing equity, and my professional learning around AI.
Okay. And if I'm going too fast, April, with the slides, just tell me to slow down.
No, you won't. I have to stay within the time limit. So, why I use it, why I use Gen AI, really is to stay current. Now, I didn't start using it until June of 2023, after I went to a NISOD conference. Prior to that, I had heard of ChatGPT, but mostly what I heard about it was very negative. Like it's going to ruin education and all of that. And I hadn't looked at anything, didn't have an account, but I saw this amazing presentation at NISOD that, he showed great examples, made me super curious. And I'm like, okay, I'm missing out here. I've got to find out more about this thing. So it's like, the first thing was like, I didn't want to be left, I felt like I was being left behind. And so it's like, I don't want to be left behind. And after that, once I got in, and I felt nervous about it. So if I have colleagues on here that haven't really jumped in or feel nervous and uncertain about it, I felt that way too. And the only way I kind of overcame that was by playing around with different tools. I learned that I couldn't mess anything up. I couldn't tear anything up. It's just I got in there, I created the counts, and I played around. Some things worked great, some things didn't. I had to look around, read, watch other folks, and figure out how to get better at it. And so then as far as education goes, it's like, well, I can't help my students with it, where there were folks that saying it's going to ruin education. It's like, well, it can only ruin it if I'm part of education. It can only ruin it if we let it. So we can kind of, we can have a say about that, but I can't help the students if I don't know what I'm doing. So I had to learn it not only for me, but learn it well enough to teach my students to be able to use it efficiently and then responsibly. So I had to figure that piece out. And then as I started to learn more about it, I was able to see that there was an equity component in there. And as one who sees myself as a champion for equity, then I had to learn more about that as well. So that's why I use Gen AI kind of in a nutshell.
Excellent.
All right, so for everyday tasks, this is just me. I use it in emailing, I use it in proofreading, brainstorming, text to speech. And so, for example, I had to send, I was in Copilot for this one. So it was just real quick to Google Copilot. And I was telling Copilot I had to send this email to my child's teacher. I think this was my 5th grader. And I was telling the teacher, so the message I had to send, I was telling the teacher something, but I didn't want to sound like I was telling the teacher something. So at the end of the day, I was telling the teacher, I need for my child to be able to do this. But I didn't want the message to seem like I was telling the teacher to do it. And it was all in the tone and in the right wording, whether it was going to come out like I'm telling you or I'm requesting. As I had my language, but I was like, how do I put that ending on it? And Copilot helped me, rather than let me know if this might be a concern, please let me know if you have any concerns or if there's anything we need to consider. Thank you for your understanding and support. And I tweaked that just a little bit, but it was that ending with the rest of what I said that just helped the email land and sound better when I went back to read it. So I mean, that was just an everyday task, but for me, it helped the communication between me and the teacher. Another one was with a text with my daughter. She's in French. She's in the 9th grade, and she sent me, this was part of an assignment that she texted that she did very well on. I don't know a bit of French, but I think we might have been appropriate here. That was the best I could do. And so she sent something and she said, "Love you." Well, I don't know how to say love you back. So I went here for Google Translator and said in Google, how do I say I love you in French? And so it told me this, which I assume was correct. And she wrote back and I sent a heart. So this is just regular, texting during the day with my kid at school. And Mary, I too am a graduate student. And GPT, when you say it's ruining education, perhaps it's the reason why I haven't memorized the APA citation rules, because I can go to GPT and ask. And so I needed a citation. So I went and got my APA citation. And so that's me using it for everyday tasks. Now, with the students, I've shown them how to make study guides in GPT and Copilot. Sarah, are you able, if you click that, will it show the Canva presentation that I've made for students? If you click on the box in the middle.
Give me a second, because I had to cut and paste that out. But give me one second. I'll get to your actual presentation and do that for you. Okay. Okay, here you go. Let's see if I click. Oh, I'm getting instructions from Erin. You guys can't hear. She's telling me why I'm not doing this right. There you go.
Okay, so this was something I created for students. If you click the advance it for me, Sarah. And so you can skip all that. So it was a whole presentation I made for them. Keep going, keep going. Okay, so I walked them through how to set up an account, how to give it a prompt, how to, tell it what we're looking for. You can keep going. And then how to revise. Can you go back one?
Yep.
How to revise their prompts based on what comes out, how to looking for what's consistent with what they had, how to recognize if it's giving something that they don't need and revise. Keep going. And then how to download and save it, and then set up a new one for additional topics. And so that's something we walked through. We did it as a class, and then I made them a Canva presentation, and then that's something they have that I shared with students.
Excellent.
And to encourage them, I actually gave them 5 bonus points on the test, because that's something I really want them to do, because I think it's a useful tool. Not just, and I share it not just for this class, but for any of your classes, if you're looking to study. So not to cheat, not to do anything underhanded, but you're using, AI as a tool to help you prepare. And if we'll go back to the presentation, I just want to talk and wrap up with professional development. And I think that's my time.
Okay, I think I'm back.
Okay, so improved assessment, I used it to improve some assessments that I had. This was on a stats test where I asked a question the first time around in the fall. I didn't get great responses. I asked GPT to help me improve that same type question. It had me lay it out for students and kind of prompt them in steps. I got much better responses that time. So it wasn't that the students didn't know, it's just that I didn't give them a good enough question, and GPT helped me with that. Next slide, please. Okay, same thing. It helped me create a rubric for a project that I assigned for STAT students. It also helped me, I thought of one scenario for a particular test, but I wanted to give 2 different versions. So I used GPT to help me with another, give me another scenario, very similar for students. Next slide, please. Okay, online assistance. I'm remote this semester, finishing up my doctorate, gets a little busy. Students sent me this question. I'm not sure I understand why the domain is x greater than or equal to 0. I told them, hey, great question, gave them a quick answer, but I threw their question in GPT, asked it to give an explanation for the student, checked the explanation to make sure it was correct, copied this and sent it back to the student, where I didn't have to take the time out to do all that. And the student got a pretty reasonably quick response back that helped them understand the question. They said, thank you so much. I appreciate your quick response. Okay, next one.
And April, I'm going to pause for a second. What tool did you have the students use? Because sometimes some AI tools are better at math than others. So what did you use? What was the tool you used to have the students get this sort of online assistance?
So this was one of my online pre-calculus students, and they complete their homework using MyLab Math.
Okay.
From Pearson. And so they just used the Ask My Instructor tool and said, hey, Ms. Crenshaw, I was working on problem number 8, and this was the answer to that question. I don't understand it. And so I did a copy, snipped the question, put it into GPT. This was ChatGPT, whatever the latest one is.
Okay.
And asked it to answer to answer this, said this is the student's question on this problem, and asked it to give me the answer and explain. And then so it said and asked answer this question for this student step by step on the level of a 10th grader.
Oh, that's very helpful. Thank you. I think it's important as we're talking about how we're using the tools or what we're using, but also how we're using. I found personally that it's important also to what is that role you want it to take. In this case, answer it like you're giving the answer to a 10th grader, right? Being able to provide that relevant getting the AI tool to give you that relevant response is really important. Okay.
Okay, and where we're headed as an equity tool, AI generated OER, because I work on redesign with the OER. We can get free, high quality, on demand tools. The next thing I'm interested in is working with 24/7 support and feedback through the use of chatbots. So I'm not there yet, but that's my next endeavor. And then being able to include inclusive content creation. I don't know if anybody's looked at Notebook LM, but one of the updates that they just made with the podcast is being able to use different languages and allowing the user to customize the podcast, whereas where it first rolled out, you had to take the podcast as is. And as I was saying, doing image creation where you can include more diverse examples just by specifying what you need. Whereas before, if you got a publisher book, whatever images were in there, those were just the images that were in there, whatever scenario or background or setting or place that was there, that was just what was there. And now you can change and modify those things, just like that with a prompt in AI. Last slide. Okay, and there are AI certification courses. I've completed one through the Association of College and University Educators, ACUE, and Google. I attend conferences and workshops like Tech Talk Tuesdays. I'm here at a pod conference right now in Chicago. I follow Tim Musil. That was the guy that introduced me to AI at NISOD back in May of 2023. Ethan Mollick and David Wiley are David for the equity part, but Tim and Ethan for AI. And then these are the ones that I've experimented with. Perplexity, like Grammarly Go, Notebook LM, Ideogram. I'm just now getting into HeyGen. So those are the ones that I play with.
Excellent.
All right. I hope I kept my 15 minutes. If not, I do apologize.
You're good. You're good.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. I'm done.
Thank you, April. And I'm going to jump back to our questions because I want to make sure that we give Mary Ellen and Angie a chance to share their expertise as well. So I'm going to pop back to our questions here, but want to give Mary Ellen or Angie a chance to share, what are some of the ways specifically that you found for using, I know Mary Ellen, you have that instructional designer role, and Angie, I believe you're in the classroom. So what are some different ways? Angie just gave us some great examples for math, but what are some ways that you're finding to actually use AI tools for either course development or more specifically with students?
Well, I can sort of speak from the instructional design perspective. So we have been doing primarily faculty support and helping faculty use large language models to do things like transmediation of assignments if they want to take an assignment and think of different ways that they could make a written assignment more of like a a different kind of multimedia assignment or an interactive assignment. So we've been doing that. We have use cases helping with prompt engineering because that part has proved to be pretty important, like figuring out how to ask the large language model what it is that you need. So we've been doing that. We also have we developed recently and just rolled it out, a Course Design Academy, which is an online self-paced course that we offer through D2L that faculty can go in and learn about different aspects of using AI for their courses and their course design. That, if you want, I can show you just a few things in there. Okay.
Sure. I'll stop sharing and you should be able to.
Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. This is I'm in the designer view, but this is the Course Design Academy, and the content ranges from just an introduction to AI down to how students and faculty each have a perspective about using it, and then what you can do with it next. So each of these modules has a set of learning objectives. The introductory videos that we've included here were done, we wrote the scripts, but the video was done using 11 labs to generate the voice content. And that made the process go much faster because when we had to record our own voices, I'm not good at recording. I would mess up. I'd have to go back. I'd cough or I'd sneeze or something would happen and it would just take too long. So this has really streamlined the process. So each one has an introductory video. It outlines what they're going to do. There's some assignments, some discussions. It's asynchronous. How you might use it for adaptive learning or analyzing feedback from course surveys and that type of thing. So it really kind of spans I would say the entire breadth of use that a faculty might consider when they want to use AI or they're approaching AI, even to what kind of course policies should you put in your syllabus? What kinds of things should you consider? How can you design an assignment to discourage students from using AI? So we've tried to consider all those aspects of it, and that's hopefully we'll get some feedback on that course once we have some people go through it. But that's sort of the main thrust that we've been doing lately is just helping faculty work their way through and navigate using the tool effectively and ethically.
Well, that's incredible. And I think that all of us would be interested. I'm seeing some chat, but I think all of us might be interested in you coming back after some folks have had a chance, some of your faculty have had a chance to try that out and give us some feedback or give us an update on how it went.
I would love that.
That would be great. Now, Angie, I know that for your classes, you may be using tools differently. How have you been, what tools are you using? How are you using them in either your course design and development or with your students?
Well, I'm also a instructional designer too.
Okay.
So I do a lot of faculty training and things like that.
Awesome.
And we've actually got a faculty book club on AI right now. So we're kind of going through and learning some on that. But we didn't pick a good book because it ended up being written by AI and it's not the best.
Oh no.
Okay.
So wait a minute. What is that book so we all know not to go get it?
I don't know if I have it with me. Hang on.
Oh, well, when you find it, just share that with us so that we know. But that in
It
itself
is AI in education.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you read the descriptions and you're like, oh, let's do this. And yeah, that one wasn't the best choice. But there are lots of things out there for that. I am also the coordinator for high impact practices at Walter State. So I'm using AI to help with how do we do course reviews? How do we design effective tips? How do we get faculty to invest in this? Asking it that kind of questions and having those conversations has been really good. With my students, I do a lot of the feedback because I am horrible at your paper sucks, write better kind of things. And that's not really good. So I try and find like constructive feedback, some strengths. I've used it to create a lot of my grading rubrics and that's been really helpful. I'm big on tilting, transparency in teaching and learning. And so I will put my assignments in there and it will pop out with the tilt framework saying, this is why we're doing it. This is what the purpose is. This is your step-by-step instructions. And that's been really useful in reducing student questions. When you have it all clearly laid out, it really helps. It helps me write student recommendations because I really hate writing student recommendations. Of course, don't copy and paste, just like we tell our students, but it can give you some good ideas for that. Creating in-class activities. How can I make an interactive lesson on poverty? You know, what can I do with this? Creating case studies. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good on it. If you ask it to be very specific, it can, but sometimes it doesn't quite get there. But like in social work classes, I do a lot of case studies and it's really hard to use the same ones over and over. So it's been helpful in helping me modify those. Making test practice, multiple choice true false questions. I will also have my students go in and have them create multiple choice or true false questions, and then they have to tell me whether AI did good or not. Like what grade would they give AI based on that? In my self-care class, it actually helps me write journal prompts for them. So I teach a class for helping professionals, mostly social workers, psychiatrists, things like that. And I've run out of journal prompt ideas, so it has helped some with that. And anytime
You can turn it up.
like I'm trying to move away from papers for everything. So I'm trying to ask it to create different ways of assessing material, and it's been really great with that.
Authentic assessment, competency-based assessment. You're speaking our language. Come see us. You're speaking our language. Now, you've listed several things, helping you with constructive feedback, writing rubrics, what is your go-to? What is the tools you're most comfortable with in those tasks that you just kind of spoke through, and helping support students, but also doing some of the development? What are those tools that you're using?
I usually just use the free version of ChatGPT. I like Perplexity better, but I haven't fully switched over. It's like, okay, I like how this works, but I got to get used to using it. And I like Perplexity better because it gives you where their information came from.
Mm-hmm.
But usually it's just ChatGPT. I do use Grammarly. That's been really helpful in writing student letters and things like that. But ChatGPT is the most common I use.
Okay, very helpful. Now back to some of our questions, and this is kind of open for all of you because, yeah, Perplexity is fantastic. I'm either had too much or not enough coffee today. Time changes are super fun. So kind of back to our original questions about things we wanted to learn today. One of those things that we were interested in is the student reception. And I think this can go to all of you, Angie and Mary Ellen, and April talked a little bit about this. But one of the things that we've heard, because we sit in this very fun seat where we work with some industry, but we work with colleges and students, is employers are looking for these AI skills. It's becoming very clear that students have to have these skills to be competitive in the marketplace. But I'm always interested in learning, how are the students receiving or responding to the prompting by you all to use AI?
I can talk on that a little bit.
Yeah.
My students are terrified to use AI because their instructors have told them not to, and they're afraid that it's going to cause issues. And so then they're either hiding that they're using AI, or they're just not using it. And that's become a problem in many ways because, like, I can read it and I know if they just copy and paste. We all can read and know that. But in my class last spring, I teach an ethics class in social work. And I asked them to do a big research project on AI therapy. and the use of AI in that kind of resource. And the students were like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to know about that. I don't want, like, they didn't want to approach it. And it was early on, last spring, we didn't have a whole lot of AI information still. We were still figuring it out, or at least I was. Okay. And they really were not interested in that project and did not want to do it. And I had to keep pushing and pushing to get them to do it. And even by the end of it, they're like, yeah, that's not something I want to do. But if you're going into the field of social work, you need to know how those things work. And so that's where I kind of ran into the difficulties with it.
Well, and I think that's important because we know that industries and employers are looking for these skills. We know that coming up in when these learners get out, or for those folks that are fully employed and still going to school and doing it all, AI is becoming more prevalent in many of the disciplines and of the jobs out there. So being able to connect what they're learning with what they can use really enhances that return on investment for their learning. And so where we as faculty can create those connections, it's so important to do that. So I love that you push them, Angie. I loved in that example that even though they weren't comfortable, you pushed them because you knew they had to know it. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. I think that's so important. I mean, we have some faculty who are so against it because they're convinced it's going to, ruin everything. But in my mind, it's the same thing when the internet came about, or when Wikipedia came about, or when any of these other kinds of disruptive technologies come about. But I think students should be encouraged to use it effectively and ethically, and not like told, no, don't do that, because you're right. I think it's going to be part of the landscape of the workplace.
Yeah. We've got a hand up.
Yeah.
Dr. Holloway. Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? My situation is different. I actually have an assignment where they have to actually videotape themselves using AI to complete an assignment.
Oh, interesting.
And then, so it's actually an assignment that actually relates to therapy. So I provided a classroom instruction, first of all, where I'm actually interacting real time with AI in a therapy session. And then the students' now job is to go back and actually address those same therapy sessions, making sure they cover the content that we provided in lecture. And so I think one of the things, as I look at this meeting, that we are missing is we might need to have student experiences where they actually come and share their experiences with AI in the classroom. And maybe a couple of my students might want to talk about that particular lessons, because it's actually a full role play using AI. So the assumption is not that the AI is kind of essential for understanding and knowing what the discipline is going. And so I think having them actually videotape themselves using AI, coming up with the answers, coming up with the actual project is something that I've been doing. So it's fully integrated into the system. It's kind of like you don't live without it. And so initially, I think when I began, and I was showing them some things to do to complete a project, they said, can we do this? Is this cheating? Because they were doing it already anyway. And so when you actually present that to them as a tool to help them be able to hone and actually understand the resource that's available and how you use that for teaching and learning in that process. So it's an instructional experience, nothing that you are taking away from the students, that you're providing them those steps to help them, climb that ladder academically and also with knowledge.
That sounds incredible. So did I hear you volunteer to come with your students for a panel? I would love. We would love to reach out to you.
The students would probably come, to have the students talk about their experience. Yes. I think that's, we as instructors or, just educators, I think to hear the student experience of what that was like, that would help to inform us on, maybe some directions we ought to take. So, but really it's part of the instructional experience. So I'll probably have a couple that can talk about what happened during that class.
Yes, well, I think that's a great idea, and that's part of one of the things we're looking to do with Tech Talk Tuesday over the next year is having more panel discussions, students specifically being one of them. So I love that idea that we can bring in some students and help them share how they're using it, some of the ways that they've learned with it. I really love that idea. So thank you so much for sharing that. I know we're getting close on time, so I have one more question, and then Jamie wants to show you some updates that we've done to our resource site. So here is one of the questions that we had originally identified for. our learning goals today. So for the panel or for anyone out there, here's the thing. There is a lot of information on AI. Tools are constantly changing. Tools are constantly adapting. What is one way that you use to keep up? What is one tool you always look at? What is one thing you look at? Or one source you go to keep up on AI advancements?
So my favorite is a newsletter called The Neuron.
Okay.
That's one that I try to read pretty regularly, but I don't always have time to. And then I have other newsletters that I can put in the chat, so I don't think all the time.
Perfect.
I'll second the Neuron. It's a great one.
Excellent. Excellent. Anyone else with a great resource you'd love to share?
I use Ethan Mollick's and Tim Mussell's LinkedIn page.
Oh, very nice.
So when they're always on top of everything. So if there's something new that's come out or there's an update to something existing, then like it pops up in my news feed. And if I can't get to it right away, I just save it to go back. So that's how I found out about the updates to Notebook LM through the two of them. And I was like, okay, so yeah, I got to go back and try it now to see how much I'm able to customize in Notebook LM, since now I know that you can customize and you can change different languages.
Very nice. Very. Yeah, I'm kind of excited about trying those out too, April. And we have the AI pedagogy project in here and AI tools. So for those of you that have tools or have places that you like to go find your AI information to help you stay as on top of the changes as you can, I don't think it's realistic to think any one person could stay on top of absolutely everything. It just changes so fast. I think we also have to shift our perspective on what it means to learn these AI tools and recognize that we will be in a state of constant learning, and that's okay. That's okay too. I want to, before we wrap up, I want to make sure I give a huge thank you to Angie and April and Mary Ellen for sharing with us today how you're using AI in course design and in the classroom with students. And Dr. Hardaway, thank you so much for coming up and sharing. I'm really interested in learning more about how you're using AI with students and recording their interactions. I think that sounds like a really incredible opportunity for learning. So I'd love to know more about that. So don't be surprised if we reach out and start asking you more questions. It sounds like an incredible learning opportunity. I do want to remind you that we do have an AI resource that is available to you. We'll pop that in the chat in just a second, but I'm actually going to hand my headset over to Jamie, who will be able to show you some of the great work. She has been hard at work behind the scenes cleaning up our AI resource page and is going to be able to show you some of those updates. So I'm going to actually hand my headset over. Okay. Mute this. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Yes? Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm going to share with you our resource site. I'm also on a trackpad this morning, so hang on. Oh, there we go. Okay, can everyone see the resources page? Yep. Okay, perfect. Okay, so you asked, we answered. In one of our sessions, we had faculty ask us for a listing of tools that are out there. So we've been working hard to look for different tools that are available. We have tried as much as possible to stay on the free side of everything. And so we set those up into different categories for you. And I'm going to show you in just a moment that you can see each of the categories here.
And then down in the next section, there's a little tip here. So if I'm signing up for tools, sometimes I don't want to use my work email. I don't want to get spammed or a lot of extra email in my account. So I'll use a Gmail, or I'll just set up a different account and I use that email account for signups. So that's just a tip there. So I'm going to move down to this accordion and you'll see these different tools that are listed here for you. And the way these are set up is you'll have a link to the tool. It'll have a primary function, the use cases, the costs, and how faculty, staff, and students can use each one of those tools. We will continue to build this out for you so you can see the different ones down through here, but we didn't list just everything that's out there because that's just too much to deal with right now. So we've listed the most popular ones, and there are some websites out there that do ranking of these various tools, and so we follow those closely. So you'll see a few of them on here. And so those are for general purpose large language models. And then you'll get into assessment and feedback tools. So you may see some on these lists that you have used before. And some of them may have been tools that you have used for many years that have started to embed AI functionality in them. And so hopefully you'll find some interesting things there. So next we've got audio, video, speech. I'm not going to click on every one of these because you get the idea. Coding and data tools, collaboration tools, image generation tools, presentation tools, research tools, and there are some good ones there. And so you'll see that Zotero, someone mentioned in the chat earlier, so it's linked here for you. Research Rabbit is one that I use, which is really great for mining for academic papers. So, and it's free. So make sure that you check that one out. And then search engine tools. So this is an area that's changing quite rapidly right now. I'm in the midst of testing ChatGPT as my search engine. And I will tell you right now, I'm hot and cold on it. I really like the fact that the second that I put in my search string or whatever I'm looking for, it gives me a write-up of a backstory of whatever I'm looking for, and then provides me with the link to that content. But sometimes I just want to look at various links. So what I need to do then, if I don't get various links, is just tell it, provide links. That's the next string that I put into ChatGPT to follow up. Perplexity AI is one of my favorites. So make sure you try that one if you have not. And this one I have not tried yet. I'm kind of excited. I looked at it, but I've not tested it out. It's called Consensus, and it's for scientific research papers. So that's really cool. And there's one under writing and editing that has just blown me out of the water. You may have used it. It's called HyperWrite. And there are literally, I don't know how many tools within that platform that you can use to do all types of writing, of prompt generation, of tagline, of ad writing, anything and everything that you can possibly think of, speech writing, all kinds of fun things under there. It's all free to use. So these are just the resources that we have been gone out and linked for you. So if you have some that you are using that we have not included, please send those to us so we can include them in our listing. And then in the next section, these are the links that have always been here, and we just clean them up and collapse them down into smaller categories. I do want to show you, let's see, under AI skills development, we talked a little bit, I think April touched on a little bit of PD today and training and those kinds of things. There's some neat things under here that we listen to and people that we follow, and we'll be adding your resources that you shared with us today into this listing. But this first one is just podcasts that we listen to, and some of these podcasts are aimed at education in particular. Some of them are aimed at everyday use. So Everyday AI is one that we're all kind of really into and listen to with Jordan Wilson. And AI Conversation is Daniel Lopez. He's a K-12 slant, but there is so much application for higher ed there. I see Dr. Hardy's got his hand up. I'll be right there in a moment. And that avatar is wild. That is so cool. But let's see. AI Daily Brief is one that we also love. This kid that does this one is just an aficionado on using AI for anything and everything in your life. He taught me how to use the tools to build lists, which I like operating from lists. I just don't like to build them. So he's really great at just how to use AI for productivity. And then TED Talks are down here. Video tutorials, we've added some here. These are really neat. So there's some quick ones I've added on the link, so you know what commitment you're making when you click on that video. So we'll add those as well, and then it just goes on and on. So let us know if you have resources to add to our list, and we will include them. And I see Dr. Hardy's hand up, so I'm going to answer your question. I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
This is the guy that came to visit our class that my students got a chance to talk to and deal with. So that gives you a little preview if we ever do deal with him.
That is the coolest thing. Take the stage.
Yeah. So, well, we won't have him say anything today, but anyway, this is my friend.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Hardy. Now you're coming back. You're coming back. So we really appreciate that, and all of the great ideas, and there's just nothing like learning from your colleagues and seeing what they're trying. Also, if you had epic fails, we learn from those as well, right? And so we like to share our crash and burns with others, and so they're not repeating our crash and burns in their experience. And ask your students. We want to hear from your students. So we're going to work on developing out a student panel, and it'll be our first, but it won't be our last. We would love to include them on a regular basis. We are also working on an industry panel that we're going to build, so faculty can hear it directly from industry of what they're seeing and what their expectations are for upcoming graduates. And so that's coming in the spring. So look for more information on that. And if you have any ideas, like breaking out to particular industries, I mean, we can take this anywhere we want to go. And this is what we wanted to do when we started this thing. We are actually celebrating our 1-year anniversary with this presentation of Tech Talk. And so we are really happy that the momentum is building and that faculty and staff are coming, and we want to include our students into the fold. And so we're all learning and building together, and we look forward to going forward and having each of you that shared with us today back. And we want to keep tabs on your continual experience and your learning so that we share that forward with everyone with us. So thank you so much. And next year, when we go to CBE Exchange, we need for you to show up with us and talk about AI and how you're using it to authentically assess your students. And I know the folks here would love to hear what you're doing and be so excited to hear from you. So thank you so much. We are sitting in Colorado Springs with snow on the ground. And I will tell you right now, these girls from the South are kind of struggling with it, but it's pretty, but we're inside. But we just really appreciate you guys, and we'll look forward to our next Tech Talk. And so look for information coming out on that. And also on our the Bridging Minds and Machines website, we have included a link to Tech Talks on there, so you can just automatically bookmark that however you want to do it. So you're just putting yourself into those sessions, and we are working on getting ahead and having our topics come out a little bit earlier. And so we'll be working on that going forward. So thank you to everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.